I know Berkeley is a top tier school. So, but was Berkeley your first choice that you wanted to teach at? Did you want to teach at?
Well, yeah. I mean, God, the job market, even as long ago as when I was just getting out of grad school and going on the market, the job market was bad then.
Really?
It's always been bad. There was this mythical moment that I used to hear from the generation before mine about the 60s when, they were hiring like crazy and you didn't even have to apply for jobs, they'd call you. But I don't know that that ever happened before. It certainly never happened since. So, I was prepared to basically take whatever job I could find. And Berkeley is like a dream job.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, man, Berkeley is for whatever. Berkeley is. I mean, that's a huge lottery ticket.
Berkeley would be on anybody's top 10 lists of places they wanted to teach. So it just happened that there was a job up when I started applying, and it just happened that I fitted. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. Did you always know you wanted to be a professor though?
Not always, no. There was a couple of years in college, I guess, when I thought I would like to pursue a career as a critic, an essayist. I was very interested in art at the time, and I thought for a while that I wanted to be an art critic, a critic of contemporary art. And I got a little bit involved in that world and got very disillusioned after a while. It took a little while, but it's one of those things where sort of the more you find out about something, the worse it starts to look,
Absolutely, yeah.
Or at least the less appealing. So the alternative, I think, was always to get a PhD and in some humanities field that I thought would let me do what I wanted to do, and so that's what I did.
Yeah. So how many times have you watched The Godfather?
Wow, I couldn't count. I really couldn't. I mean, that's true of so many of these wonderful films. I must say, you don't always watch them from beginning to end. Sometimes you just want to see a certain scene, and and then there are those films that you start watching just to see a certain scene, and then you just can't stop. You just have to go through to the end. That happens to me all the time with Kubrick, especially. But so it's not really. I couldn't count the times. It's just kind of a constant well that I dip into and draw up some value periodically.
Yeah. Now, did you initially watch The Godfather in a theater?
I did, yeah. Yeah. I don't have a vivid memory of that, but I'm sure that's how I initially saw it. The really vivid memories I have of seeing premieres in movie theaters a lot of them are Kubrick. I remember 2001 vividly. I remember pretty much all of them. Full Metal Jacket, The Shining. I remember what theater it was and all that. But The Godfather is a little more diffuse.
Yeah. I have an appreciation for what you said in your answer that perfection and greatness doesn't always happen simultaneously.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's crucial, isn't it? Perfection is probably never attained.
That's right.
But if a work is really great, and I think, the criterion I tried to establish was it just seems like a miracle. How did this thing come together?
Yeah.
How could it be so good? It's better than any one participant in it. Just something, there's an X factor and something magical happened, and that's compatible with there being any number of flaws or imperfections. And I think partly what happens when you really learn to love a film is you start to love the flaws as much as anything else. They after a while they seem as inevitable as any other aspect of it. And I mean, that is something you have to learn to love these things. Sometimes it's not evident. There's something there. There's value, but sometimes the film has to teach you how to see it. And that can take time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I probably watched Godfather 1 and 2, that is, probably 3 times a month.
Wow.
At least. I run it back on Netflix, and I'm like you. So for me, what I may do is I may start Godfather 1, and then I'm doing something, so I'll miss a scene, but I remember what happened, and then I come back, at a point that that I just enjoy, or that I love about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that, what do you think of the very opening of The Godfather? I think it's the opening where there's this close up, and the line is, "I believe in America."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure someone has somewhere has written an essay on looking at the film as a whole, just from that point of view. America is something to believe in, like a myth, or a creation story, or a religion, or something like that. Seeing that at the time was profound, because of course, well, like now, people had so many doubts about the country, and just coming through Vietnam and so forth, and it was a really it was tough. It was really hard hitting kind of line. You immediately think, well, do I believe in America anymore?
Yeah.
What does it mean to believe in America?
Yeah.
Something that was true of Patton too. You know the film Patton?
Yes. Yeah.
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 Well, the very beginning of that film, and again, this came out, right during the Vietnam War, maybe sort of during when it was winding down a little bit, but again, it was just such a bitter, nasty experience, and you couldn't think about America without thinking about Vietnam. And in the middle of that sort of mood, you get this film in which George C. Scott walks out onto a stage with this massive American flag behind him. It's the biggest thing you've ever seen, and addresses a group of Americans who are absolutely united, one purpose. They're going to go over and beat Hitler. And it was sad and moving. The context, I guess, in which we see these things is so.
Absolutely. Because for me in The Godfather, I'm fascinated by Michael's journey. From the beginning, he denies like, I'm nothing like my father. He's telling his wife, I'm nothing like my father. And in the end, he's a lot like his father, Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah, absolutely. might be worse. Exactly. Yeah.
More of a threat,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film, certainly.
So what's your opinion on this? Does life reflect art, or does art reflect life?
Well, I think that art makes life clearer and more intelligible than it is. Of course, art is a big category. There's abstract art, but thinking about things like cinema and the novel and poetry, narrative forms, dramatic forms. Yeah, I think that as we live life, everything is always very ambiguous. You're never really sure what anyone meant about anything.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't really know what the consequences of any given action are going to be, and so there's a sense in which everything is just up in the air in ordinary real life. And for me at least, drama and narrative art just has the ability to focus, to sort of make the boundaries a little clearer, the differences between what this person is saying and that person, and so forth. And so it can stage the questions, that we want to ask about life, in ways that just, make it possible to actually talk about intelligibly and in a focused way. That's maybe too conceptual way of putting it, but because it's just about the feeling, it's just about the emotional impact too. But I think maybe you could say the same thing about emotions, that it clarifies your emotions and it makes them accessible in ways that are, sharper and clearer and more salient. Anyway, that's my intuition, that it's a way of making sense out of the world. And,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I'm gonna